and welcome to another episode of How Are You Holding Up? A mental health podcast by the depressed for the depressed. I'm Lindsey.
And I'm Chris.
And we have a new guest today.
Cass, is that me?
Yeah, that's you.
Okay, great.
We're so excited
I'm
to have Cass. Would you like to introduce yourself, Cass?
Yeah, I'm a writer, city cyclist, and a person just existing on this planet.
Yay!
Unlike Chris and I.
We are aliens from a far-off world.
No, Chris and I are not, we always put this disclaimer out. Well, not always, but we should. We're not professional healthcare professionals in any way trained for this. We're just having a discussion. But Cass...
So I am, well, first of all, it's weird because we're talking about the trans-nonbinary stuff, so.
Anything you want.
Okay, great. So in Chicago, after I came out as non-binary and transitioned, I was a part of a trans mentorship. So I have a little bit of experience, not really educational, professional, but experience talking about and mentoring trans individuals.
Yeah, which is a skill set that we do not have. So wonderful.
Great.
And how are you holding up?
I'm holding up really great. I've had a wonderful day. I'm a little anxious because this is a podcast and my voice is being recorded. But I went on a hike and I'm next to two wonderful people, so I'm excited.
Thank
Yay!
you. How are you holding up, Chris?
A little bit of a rough day today, admittedly. I rode rollerblades for the first time in probably 17 years. And it'll be the last time for probably another 17 years. But I also was in a kind of public place and I'm getting used to the new medication, and so I was a little more on edge than I'm used to. The fun part, which I think we're going to have an episode on this at some point, is your boys have an Adderall. So
we talked a little bit about this last episode. Yeah,
but your boys have an Adderall because your boys probably got ADHD.
Oh yeah.
So as a result, I mean, the probably should have probably been answered at this point, but yes, ADHD as a cause of depression. Stay tuned for that episode, guys. But that's not today.
You're depressed?
Oh shit.
Wait, what are we doing here?
My entire life has been a ruse. You've all been fooled. Congratulations. Lindsey, how are you holding up?
I am so grateful that I am not talking about myself today. I told these two lovely people that earlier because at some point we might address it, but I am going through a rough patch. Yeah. But I am healthy and I have a lot of good things happening for me, so let's stick to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I touch you?
Yes.
We're here for you.
Thank you, Cass.
Yay.
I appreciate that. So.
We get to talk about me today.
We're going to talk about Cass today.
Oh my goodness.
So, Cass, I am so excited because we talked about this earlier, but we just can't know what it's like from your point of view. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear about wherever you want to start your story.
You don't need the whole story, but whatever you want to talk
share.
about. Yeah.
Well, I brought props.
Yes,
Ooh.
which is exciting. This is our first time.
Visual props that we're not going to be able to show people, but that's okay.
We can talk about it. We can describe it. So, whenever I think about my transition, I think about the testosterone that I take and I inject it into my butt. So, what I have just presented on the table is this little vial of testosterone that I like showing to people.
I've never seen this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it.
Bottle.
Oh, it's such a baby bottle.
You can look at it.
It's so tiny.
It's very tiny. It's clear liquid. I think of it as man juice sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Get your injection of man juice.
And then I also like presenting the needle because people don't realize how big.
That's a huge needle.
It's huge.
This is horrible. Wait, do you do this to yourself?
I have to do it every week.
To yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. The first time you did that, how did you get the courage up to like plunge that into your body?
Or did you like Pulp Fiction,
this
just like
is
going
like,
in my butt right
this
now?
This needle is almost as long as my finger, and thicker than the ones that go into your arm. I want to say.
Yeah. So a lot of people think that like needles for testosterone is kind of like insulin needles, which are very small, and you just like put in, and it's easy. And so you can do like intramuscular or I don't know the technical terms, but you can do in the muscle. And so when you go in the muscle, you have to have a really big ass needle.
Makes sense.
So that's what I do.
So did you you could choose between?
There's a few different ways that you can take testosterone and hormones. There's like you can have a patch on your just outside, like a nicotine patch, and you can get testosterone. But if you have that, and if you have a partner and you rub up against them,
that they get testosterone too.
They also get testosterone. And then you don't have to inject into your muscle, but a lot of people that I know do it into their leg or into their butt, and it just works better for them.
Okay.
And so hopefully there'll be more ways to do injections soon.
Is there no reason to do intravenous, like into the veins, or is that just too scary or
You have to go to a
something?
doctor.
Because that seems like a doctor skill.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the science of it. What I do know is that the reason you put it into the muscle is because this has to the vial the testosterone has to go through your system slowly. So it needs to be absorbed into your body at a specific rate over the course of a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever program you're on.
Wow.
That makes sense. In the veins, it would be filtered out way too quickly.
Way too quickly. So they want to put it into the muscle and a part of your body that's going to be filtered at a specific rate.
Perfect.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, that's cool as hell.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that weird and cool?
Diet.
So I like to bring that prop. You said the first time I injected myself?
Yeah.
I had been waiting to be. I think that a lot of people, you have to go through so many steps. You have to do so many steps and go to so many. I went to a primary doctor, then a specialist doctor, and then I had to get blood work, and you have to wait for the blood work, and then you go into, at least for me, I went into the doctor's office and they showed me how to do it exactly. And they literally went through the steps and they had the testosterone ready to be injected, and they put it down on the table and they're like, okay, and we're going to give you a prescription and you get to go home and do it yourself.
Oh man.
So from the first doctor visit to that moment, how long?
That was like 3 months. It took me 3 months to be in the room with testosterone.
Wow.
And then to have the doctor being like, now we're going to send you home. We're not going to be here when you first inject yourself.
Right.
You have to go home and do it
yourself.
This is, of course, by the way, for our listeners, this is also from an American healthcare standard.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So that is something to be aware of. When we talk about the timelines of this, there's going to be some variations to our international listeners.
And also probably by state. I imagine
Oh,
it's different
yeah.
just per county. I don't know.
Yeah. It was, and I was in Chicago when I was doing this. And so whenever I talk about this, I wasn't going through an LGBT center. I was doing this strictly through, I went to a primary doctor, then got my endocrinologist, specialized doctor. I had a therapist and I had a special gender therapist. And then I was referred to top surgeon. So like, it was all just very step by step by step. But the night I held the vial.
Oh man.
And I got it out, and I nearly had a panic attack as I was doing it because I was like,
can't imagine.
am I going to kill myself? Like, like, is this going to hurt me? Like, how much is it going to hurt? And my partner, like, helped me, and she, like, held my hand, and we breathed through it. And then I did the injection, and I described it as, like, this pain. It was painful for the syringe, and then it was, like, a fuzzy, warm sensation. And then it was, I was just elated.
Yeah.
I was so happy that it was starting. And then the stuff that you don't talk about is you take the needle out and it starts to bleed. And then you get so scared that all that testosterone has just bled out of you.
That is probably a common fear, I would imagine. Yeah.
That's the whole thing. So I do this every week now. I used to be on it every 2 weeks, but now I have to inject myself every week, which is difficult but fun.
Yeah.
And you identify as?
I identify as trans-non-binary, and my sexuality is queer as hell. And I would say I'm very gender fluid, but I don't wake up and I feel like a man or a woman. I'm just like always non-binary in between yes and no.
Yeah. And I love that you sign your emails with they, them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are my pronouns. And to the people who know me, then they know my pronouns, and I expect them to use my pronouns. And if they mess up, then I don't care, and I don't want to make a big deal out of it. And
Oh, that's nice.
I hope that they...
People make mistakes.
Yeah, of course. People are human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a big thing of mine, is that if they know my pronouns and they make a mistake, that's totally okay. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
And please try better in the future, and it's going to be okay. And if you don't know my pronouns and then you address me as he, him, that I don't care. But damn, if you address me as a lady, what the fuck? Have me, like, look at me.
So what kind of, like, your process, did you have so you told us that you had your partner with you for the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
Did she see you guys talk about, like, your mental well-being through this a lot? And
Yeah. Let me give you, like, a basis of what happened.
yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So 2016 elections happened. We all know that was great. So some really interesting things happened in my life. In college, I had heard of trans people, but I only knew the narrative.
Right.
That you're born as a female, but you're born in the wrong body. That was the narrative that you're
That's
given.
a pretty common story. Yeah.
Yeah, that in television or whatever you're given, that's kind of like what you're told. And I was like, well, that's not me. I'm just like a tomboy.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so 2016, I had been a delivery driver at Jimmy John's, and I had been in very androgynous clothing. And I'd been flying down the streets of Chicago, almost getting into accidents all the time. People were referring me to as they, them, and I didn't even realize that that's what I wanted. And I had met trans non-binary people, but they weren't really my cup of tea. Like, they were kind of they were quite frankly very mean to me.
Huh.
Oh.
And they were very mean about their pronouns. And I thought I associated that meanness with being non-binary, transgender, or yes, and, to both. And so I was coming off of being a delivery driver, and now I was put into this corporate atmosphere where I was dressing as a woman. And the 2016 elections happened, and my partner broke up with me, but we had to live in the same place.
Oof a doof. Yeah.
So you put all those together, and it's a shit ton. It is so much. And so I kept having these mental breakdowns. I kept being like, what is wrong with me? What is happening? Why aren't I happy? Why can't I just exist at work? Why do I feel uncomfortable in every state that I am in? And I realized that I was non-binary, and the first kind of thing was like, oh, okay, I'm not a man, and I'm not a woman. Great, people can just use they, them, and I'm gonna be happy with that. And I tried that out for a little bit, and I still was so unhappy because everyone kept just using she, her pronouns on me. Mm-hmm. And then I was in the car, and I started having a panic attack, and I just started crying. And I pulled over, and with my ex was in the car, but we were still almost together, but we weren't. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, I think that I'm transgender. I think that that's what I am, and I think that transgender is the word itself held such negativity to me.
Yes.
And I was like, but I need to transition. And it was this panic moment, and I just knew that I couldn't just say my pronouns were they, them, or I couldn't just say, hey, I'm not a woman, or hey, I'm a tomboy, or I had to transition, or else I would never be who I am. And so that happened on a road trip.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so then my process was that I'm a producer, or that's what I do. That's what I love to do. Mm-hmm. I love to produce things. And so I started to produce my transition. I did so much research. I researched what I could do, what hormones would do to me, what I had some friends that were transgender. I reached out to them. I asked them a billion questions that were appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And I did all the internet research while trying to avoid the TERFs. Do you know what TERFs are?
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
they're
don't.
the feminists that are trans exclusive or exclusatory.
Yeah.
Explain what that would look like.
So
Example.
they create websites that are like feminist websites, but they exclude trans women.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you Google like trans, if I'm FTM, female to male, or male M to F, or transgender non-binary, the TERFs websites will come up first, and they will give you propaganda against transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
Isn't that crazy?
It's horrible. Yeah. There was a whole stink about J.K. Rowling.
Yes.
Lately because
Oh dear.
she is a TERF.
She is a TERF.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really upsetting.
It's incredibly upsetting, yeah.
But I have another prop.
Yes.
Great. I am taking out a journal,
Mm-hmm.
and
The pages look so soft.
they are very soft.
And the handwriting is so neat.
And that's a strange thing to say, but you can tell someone's like turned it and looked at it. And...
So, when I knew I needed to transition and I did all this research, I wrote down what I wanted to change about my body. And I literally, in my journal, I said, what do I need to change to be content? So I need to lessen to no breasts, or, I can't have a period. I need less curves. A deeper voice would be nice, some hair. And so I wrote down exactly what I wanted my body to look like. And then I just researched how to do that. And then I was like, do I need to change my name? Will people ever see me differently? And I go, I do need to change my name. And then I wrote down different names, as you guys can see, that I was thinking about doing. And then I was like, well, I can't have breasts. So then what are the different surgeries? And then I wrote down all the surgeries, and then I drew it because I wanted to see what my scars would look like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did countless research, and I just flipped a page, and you can see, how do I want people to identify? Am I going to be straight? Am I going to be gay, lesbian, non-binary? How am I developing this?
Mm-hmm.
Because for those of you who maybe aren't as like familiar with the process, if you look like a man, if you get to a point where you look like a man and you're in a relationship, then you have to decide, well, am I in a straight relationship because now I'm a man?
Yeah.
And
it's and I was coming off of like a really unhealthy relationship where we were both just so toxic with each other. And I was like, how do I become me and become a less toxic partner?
Yeah.
And so within 1 year, I'm very proud of this. Within 1 year, I transitioned. I'm going to forever be transitioning, but in 1 year, I went to my primary doctor, told him that I was non-binary and wanted to transition. They gave me a referral to my endocrinologist. My endocrinologist did blood work, and I discussed with them, and they had never heard of non-binary before.
What's endocrinologist?
As a hormone specialist.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They'd never heard of it?
They had, my primary doctor said, oh, I'm going to refer you to this person. They know, they've worked with trans people before. And I was like, great. That's great.
Exactly what you want, yeah.
And I went up to them, I go, I'm transgender non-binary. And they go, what's non-binary? We don't think we've ever worked with any trans people before. And I was like, great.
Thanks, doctor.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you.
American healthcare system at work.
It was beautiful. So wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then did the blood work, waited 3 weeks, got the vial of testosterone finally, and I started injecting myself. And right at the 2-month mark, my voice cracked.
Oh, cool.
And I finally started seeing results. And then right at that moment, it was I was talking to my partner, and we were like thinking about top surgery. I was like, I don't know when I want it, and I was nervous because I didn't know the steps exactly of how I was going to get it. And she just looked at me, and she was just like, you can do this. You can do this. You can produce this. I had my whole family supporting me.
This was a new partner.
Yes.
New partner.
Yeah. Just wanted to clear that.
Non-toxic partner.
Non-toxic partner who I'm now going to marry.
Yay!
And I was like, okay, well, I'll start the process. So then I already had a therapist. So then I had to get a referral to a gender therapist. You have to see a gender therapist and they have to evaluate you to make sure that you are as of a good enough mind that you're not insane to want to alter your body gender-wise.
That this isn't also a spur-of-the-moment decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have to. So I had to get psychologically evaluated, and I had to pay for a gender therapist for like 3 months.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did you have depression and anxiety before all of this even started?
Yes.
Okay.
I had anxiety when I was a little kid.
Yeah. And was it diagnosed?
No, but my mom was a therapist.
Okay.
So I was wondering, like, is that something that you would want to talk with your gender therapist about, or is it something that you were trying to avoid in case?
I was really in my therapy. We were just working on my anxiety.
Yeah.
And then in my gender therapy, I came in and said, I'm getting top surgery. I need you to write me the letter so that my insurance will pay for it.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I've done this before.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're going to do. So he wasn't really evaluating my anxiety or depression. My other therapist was taking care of that. And then my gender therapist was just making sure I was stable enough and had the resources that I needed to move forward.
Okay.
So then did that, got the letter of recommendation, said, hey, you're sane enough, you can get top surgery. And then I started interviewing top surgeons. And because you can just go to top surgeons anywhere in the country and get them to chop off your boobs.
Cute.
So I interviewed them and I found my top surgeon, Dr. King, in Wisconsin. And it was about a 3-hour drive and he cared about me.
That's so good.
Yeah.
He cared about me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know, you guys don't understand this.
Like, okay, what was the first visit? Like,
The first visit was I walked into the room, he said hello, and we have a lot of questions. He goes, great, I'm going to be here for them. And he was like, I need to see your chest, and I know it's going to be uncomfortable. And I said, okay, let's do it. And I showed him the chest. He looked at it for 2 seconds. This man goes, doot, doot. He like moves it back and forth. He moves the breast back and forth with his hands, and he goes, okay, put it down. He goes, he shut down, and then he drew a diagram of what my chest was going to look like.
Wow.
And then we hounded him for questions for an hour, and he answered every single goddamn question. The second surgeon that I saw, he sat me down in a room. He made me take off my shirt. They touched my chest for like 5 minutes.
wow. That seems excessive.
So, for some reference for the audience, like, you didn't even want your partner
No.
looking or touching at your chest.
No, yeah, I was wearing a binder as much as I could.
Yeah. What is that body dysmorphia like?
Dysphoria.
Dysphoria. Thank you.
No, you're good. Body dysmorphia and is different than dysphoria.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only talk about the dysphoria that I experienced.
Okay.
Do you?
Yes.
Yes.
If that's okay, if you're
Great.
open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Are we doing good? This is good
Yeah.
so
This
far.
is
right?
great. This has
super
been a
great.
fantastic. Thank you so much. No, this is great. I think it's just really there's so many people who want to understand more about this, and those of you who are experiencing this right now, who are feeling, and you don't have the right verbiage for it. That's why I wanted you to go into it for a little bit.
Yeah.
We
So-
definitely have some non-binary listeners at
Yeah.
the very least. I know
Okay,
that for a
great.
Yeah.
fact.
And that's why. So like.
And taking them through the steps it helps them at least. So
Yes,
understand. Okay.
Yes.
So gender dysphoria. Just so this is beautiful because you all are anxious and depressed, right? So you take anxiety, and then you take a panic attack, and you like, okay, hey, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Now take that panic attack and put it right in one part of your body, and let it sit there, and then let it burn. And so much that you fantasize about taking a pair of scissors and sawing off your breasts. That is dysphoria.
So now you guys understand why it was uncomfortable for the surgeon to touch for so long.
Yeah.
Like, my partner would never look or feel or anything.
Yeah.
You know, when I put on my binder, I would actually, and even describing it now,
Getting goosebumps.
I have goosebumps, and sometimes I have to go like this to remind, I'm like pressing down on my chest to remind myself that they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's-
And a binder, if you don't know what a binder is, no, go for it. Go for it. You're the one that experienced
do
with
it.
a binder. I the first time I saw a binder was actually from a movie, but it's where you wrap. I believe it's a material that you wrap around your breast to make the appearance that they're not there. That you have a flat chest.
Yes.
I've actually been, I've had friends who've asked me, because they lived at home, that they ordered binders and had them delivered to my house. Just
Yes.
because that's one of the things that is going to happen a lot, too. And it sucks because there's such a stigma about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I started binding, the only binders I could find were from Asian territories, because there was no one in the United States who was manufacturing binders.
No, and also there was a lot of dangerous alternatives like saran wrap or ace bandages, things like that, where it's just that those are potentially life-threatening if you do them wrong.
Right, a binder that you buy from somebody, so it's GC, can you actually, I just want to make sure that I'm going to say it right. It's like GCB binder, GC2B.
GC2B International?
Yeah. So, okay. So there's a store now in the United States called GC2B that makes and sells binders for all body types and skin colors and beautiful and everything. But even if, and they make these binders so that you can wear them as long as you can and you can be as safe as you can. But even then, you cannot wear, even with their binders, you cannot wear them for more than 8 hours before you start to permanently damage your body. You are literally compressing your lungs, breaking. Some people have broken ribs. I've talked to trans people who did the ACE bandages when they were a child, and it's just
We'll put the link for that site
yes.
in the description in case anybody wants to go ahead and take a look.
They are so GC2B is so great, and at the later half when I was binding, I was using their binders, and huge
Big
difference.
difference.
Yes.
So back to your story, you were talking about you were with a surgeon who was not taking into account what your process was.
Yeah. So he touched me. He made me, and to him, he didn't realize what he was doing. Yeah. Then he put me in front of a mirror, and on my body pointed and touched and showed me where my scars would be. And to a person who's getting, a surgery done, that's probably fine. But to a trans person who can't even fathom that part of the body, to then be put in front of a mirror and then to be acknowledged and then to be touched that way, we left and we go, nope.
Yep.
Nope.
No. That gave me goosebumps. Descriptions.
I told that to you tell that to any trans person, they go, fuck that.
Yeah.
They're like, no. No.
And that's something I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. So, decided with Dr. King, so great. We set, so I had the certificate for my insurance. I sent it off to my insurance, and in 24 hours, I got declined. And I called my insurance, and I said, why did I get declined? I have read every single thing of your bylaw. You cover transgender services. Your insurance covers this. I know it. And they said that the company, this is the really sad part.
Oh, yeah.
So I was getting my insurance from my stepmom, and my stepmom was working for a company that had Republican roots. And when they set up their insurance plan for all of their employees, they unchecked the box for top surgery of transgender individuals. You could get a double mastectomy, as a cis woman, but you could not get a double mastectomy as a trans person. And that insurance company, they totally covered it. It was just the Republican company that my stepmom worked for.
Oh my God.
So my top surgery would be $11,000 without insurance. And so some beautiful things happened. We did a bit of group fundraising, got about $2,000 from just the community, which is amazing. My dad contributed $2,000.
Oh, wow.
And my mom, her mom died. My mom's mom died. And her mom left her a sum of money, and she had been using it throughout her life for important things. And she used it to help get her education and her master's degree in therapy. And she had about $8,000 remainder, and she had been saving it. And I told her I was getting top surgery, and my mom's a huge supporter, went through everything, and she looked at me and she said, I'm going to pay $8,000 of that top surgery. And I said, Mom, no, you're not. You're not doing that. And she said, I have been saving this money for something that is worth it, and this is worth it. And so with all of that, we got the $11,000, and I didn't have to go too crazy into debt. And we set the date for like 4 months later.
Wow.
My mom scheduled a plane ride because she was in Philadelphia, and then I went and got my surgery, and she took care of me for 2 weeks, and then my dad and my stepmom came and took care of me for a week, and then I was better and didn't have breasts anymore. So
And what was that like?
it was pretty crazy. I like to tell the story that I woke up before okay. I like to tell the story where I'm in the hospital and we're waiting, and I'm super anxious, and my mom's like trying to convey to all the surgeons that she really loves me and that they should be careful, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I say goodbye to my mom and my girlfriend, soon to be fiance, and we're crying, and I tell them of how anxious I am, and they guide me through everything, and I fall asleep, and I wake up, and there's a nurse right next to me, and I look over and I say, "Are they gone?" Referring to my boobs. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh yeah, we got them." I was like,
we got him.
Mission accomplished. We got them.
And then, so I think that some things that there were so many beautiful things. The first time we took the bandages off, my mom looked down and she goes, "Cass, they already look so good." I was like, "Thanks, Mom. Thank you." And then when I had like nipple guards, and when the nipples got taken off, the nipple guards got taken off, the nipples look good. And that,
good.
There was some really good moments. Some things that some people don't talk about, which I like to talk about, is that after you have top surgery, you have this like really pressing, because you just had trauma to your chest, right?
Yeah, of course.
So when you take off that bandage, a lot of people think you're like, "Oh wow, that must have been such a relief." And I was like, actually, it hurt a lot. Like it was really painful and scary, and it felt like I was going to have a panic attack. And then you're scared because you're like, what if I'm going to regret it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I had my mom, and I would talk to her, and I'd be like, "I feel really anxious right now." And she's like, "That's okay."
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Thanks, Mom."
It's okay to be anxious.
It's so wonderful. Yeah.
So with all of this done, and now you're in the journey for the rest of your life. For the people listening right now who are just starting, they're just starting to realize who they are, what would be the first bit of advice you would give to them as far as what is their first steps?
First of all, congratulations, because this is so exciting. Mm-hmm. A journey like this, it's going to be hard at times, but it's going to be the most wonderful, amazing journey of your entire life. And I am so proud of you. And everyone around you is hopefully supporting you. And if not, then I support you. So first of all, great. Second of all, I would suggest writing down what you want and taking a lot of time to picture your future self. Just picture it. I thought of myself as a person with a flat chest, standing in front of a mirror, holding a samurai sword, with short hair and hair underneath my arms, and my voice kind of deep sometimes. And I was fucking badass that I would still be dating women, but I wouldn't be called a lesbian, and that's who I wanted to be. And then I just researched how to get there. And first step, that's what I think you should do. And really test out all the pronouns, all the names. Go for the classic trans names of Aiden and Ash. Those are great trans names. Test them out. See how they fit. Go for other things. Be weird. Be Casper the Friendly Ghost, which is what I decided to go with. And talk to your doctors. If you have an LGBT center, go to the LGBT center because they will have all the services that I just talked about all in one. And if you're looking to change your name, research the Name Change Project, which is where lawyers do pro bono work for people in certain cities. So I changed my name through the Name Change Project. These two lawyers gave up all their time and they filed for my name change, and we went through the whole process, and I went to court with them, and I didn't have to pay them anything through this.
That's incredible.
Through this organization.
That's phenomenal, yeah.
Is there a link that we can put in the...
Yeah.
Put a link below.
Yeah, so there'll be a link below. The Name Change Project is just amazing. It takes some time, so just be patient, but know that it's worth it because changing your name, it costs already money, and it's so much easier if you have people on your side. And find that person that's going to support you. I had the wonderfulness of having my mom and my dad and my stepmom and my brother, and I told them that I was going to chop off my breasts, and they were oddly cool with it. Find someone that's going to be really cool with it, and that way you can have that, because if you get top surgery, you're going to be worried about your nipples falling off, and you need to talk to somebody about your nipples not falling off. Let me tell you.
And they need to be cool about talking about your nipples falling off.
If my partner was here right now, she'd be like, you would not underestimate how many stories of your nipples falling off we had to go through.
Cass, thank you so much for sharing with all of this. This was an awesome journey with you, and hopefully we can maybe have another episode to talk more in depth.
I love you guys. This is so much fun.
And
We love you too.
Oh my God, yes.
As for us, follow us on Instagram at HAYHU Podcast, like our Facebook page, subscribe to the subreddit. If you want to support us directly, visit our Patreon, or if you want to send us something directly, go ahead and email mailbag@howareyougholdingup.com. Cass, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at CassMiko7, I think. If you click on them and it says cat lover, binary, trans, all that thing, it's me.
There'll be a link in the show notes.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and as always,
Don't tell us to just get over it.